Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Red Sea podcast. Welcome back a day after one of the most emotionally charged games that we've all collectively watched. I think a day after a chaotic night, a day after we were all left with ultimately a great and immense feeling of pride for the entirety of Olympiacos, a feeling of pride and gratefulness for supporting this club and being able to live this moment. And honestly, a feeling of ironically positivity, at least for me, because if last night was able to prove anything to me personally, it's that Olympiacos can face anyone head on. And if there is any team in the world, if there is any team that stands in this competition right now and can pull off the miracle of going 3-3 in his last three games to actually gain a well deserved, honestly, qualification, that's us. That's the team wearing this badge right here. That's the team representing these sacred colors. That's Olympiacos. The game went as no one expected. I think that's safe to say. Of course, ultimate scoreline was 3-4. Again, one of the most emotionally charged and insanely unbelievable games that have actually been played, especially this year. Also, in general, I think that's more than safe to say, honestly. And I think the two first things that are worth mentioning is that we should be, as I said, we shouldn't only be very proud that the team stood honestly not just toe to toe, but also pressured and made the most expensive and one of, if not the best team in the world, panic, fall back, close their lines, waste time. We made Real Madrid waste time to see out a result against us. The pressure we put on in that second half is something that can't be described if you simply didn't watch the game. The quality we showed, and not just on a football level, on a mentality level in that second half, is something that words can't really put into place, in my opinion. And there is so many examples to prove that from last night. That second half was a statement. It wasn't part of a football game. That second half was a statement that this team is still here, and as long as it's humanly and mathematically possible, this team is gonna fight until the end for that goddamn qualification to next round, and this team is gonna do all and then some to go on and get that. On one hand, last night's result is a bit of a shame, solely because of those goddamn 15 minutes. But on the other hand, when you sit back and think about it, you can't really go on and complain about everything. Because what this team did, as I said, bypasses any complaint, any mistake, and everything in between. Because they redeemed themselves, they showed that they're still here, and they showed that they'll fight. They showed that they want this. They want this qualification. They want this more than anything, and it's deserved. They keep earning it. And I know that I tend to avoid it, right? I tend to avoid saying that we're unlucky, but last night we were. Except, again, from those 15, 20 minutes, we gave it our all and then some. And then it just didn't come. Whether it's narrow misses, whether it's a discussion for a penalty, which we will talk about later, whether it's Kylian being absolutely unstoppable, whether it's Vinicius being unstoppable, what matters is what we gave against Real Madrid. And again, ultimately, you didn't expect a win from this game. I personally had said that these boys could have gotten a draw, and they proved that. But again, the feeling of scoring three against Madrid, and coming out with nothing from the game is an ironic mix of both a very positive sign for the 3 games to come, and both just God messing with. What's there to say? Just simply the result itself is mind blowing, and we haven't even gotten into the details of the game yet. Of course, Kylian Mbappe scored all 4 of Real Madrid's goals, and our scorers were, of course, the ultimately injured Chiquinho, Mehdi Taremi, who is also possibly injured, was seen, of course, limping after the game, but I've personally heard nothing on it. And of course, the legend that is Ayoub El Kabi. The game started in a way that even if you paid me, I wouldn't be able to tell you that I expected that. Because simply 8 minutes in, we scored a goal that's now voted for goal of the week. Do go vote for Chiquinho, by the way, because that was goal of the week. An incredible build-up, an insane show of chemistry with a rocket of a volley from Chiquinho that caught Lunin completely off guard. Lunin missed the timing of his dive, and Chiquinho slotted it to the bottom right corner of the net. And wow, what a goal! Me and Gav have both said in the past that Chiquinho has made a case for himself for our best player currently. I've brought up the argument that he is the biggest bargain signing we've pulled in the team's history, maybe even. And he's proving both arguments day in and day out. And I also hope that his injury isn't serious. I'm more than okay with him missing Olympiacos. I think everyone is, because despite the absences, we would have seen rotation. And let's be honest with ourselves, our second unit can handle Olympiacos. And yeah, Chiquinho just keeps proving his quality. He's absolutely superhuman, because it is superhuman consistency. And the fact that in every singular possible aspect of his game, that he's irreplaceable. Chiquinho is irreplaceable. And I can only hope that we're going to keep him next season as well, because there is no Champions League pillar for this team. Also, given the players that a lot of very talented players are coming up, and a lot of very talented players are gonna come in. But there is no Champions League pillar for this team without Chiquinho. And I can't even place the phrase out there without a player like Chiquinho, because in my mind right now, I cannot think of a player that brings what Chiquinho brings to the table that can realistically sign for us. Right? Yeah, that's self-evident also. We're blessed to have this man. We are blessed to have Chiquinho play for us. And hopefully he's back soon and honestly even stronger than before. Now, in no time, of course, Kylian scores his first with Vinicius assisting. Vinicius almost picking up a hat-trick of assists yesterday, sadly, because, like, let's be honest with ourselves, if there is any argument of complaints about yesterday's performance, it's the defense in general, and honestly, especially Rodri. But we'll get to that when we get to performances. But yeah, Vinicius assisting Kylian for his first. And then, very sadly, that 20-minute absolute capitulation happens, that absolute 20-minute distraction happens with just 2 minutes later, Kylian scoring another with Arda Güler assisting him. Then an even worse case scenario happens with Mehdi Taremi, of course, needing to take the place of Chiquinho. And then a singular minute after, Camavinga assists Kylian Mbappe for what would have been his third, with a goal being ultimately disallowed, with what would have been his third. I'm sorry, I got confused from the statistics with what was his third, what was Kylian's third. And then, just 4 minutes after that, Vinicius has his goal disallowed, and the score remains 1-3 up until the half. Now, second half opens, and we open as we open the first, right? We open strong. We look like a team unhinged again, and we look strong. We look very strong. We look stronger than Madrid again, as unbelievable as that sounds. And as a cross comes in from Santiese, who just got subbed on 5 minutes before, Mehdi Taremi finds a header and scores. And then it's chaos again, because now momentum shifts on outside, and all that complete just zeroing out of all we built at the start of the game comes back. But then 5 minutes after, Vinicius again just bypasses our defense, finds Kylian with Pirola unable to stop him, and Kylian Mbappe scores the fourth, making it 2-4, with immediately Bellingham coming in as well. Then on the 62nd and on the 72nd minute, luck just completely abandons us again, as we have a double for substitution, with Lorenzo Pirola giving his place to Julian Biancon, and with Dani Podense giving his place to Gabriel Strefezza. And then along comes Costinha as well for an underperforming Rodinei. Then, just a few minutes after that, 10 minutes to the end, El Khabi scores. Ayoub El Khabi finds the net, 3-4, and then I think it's safe to say that we put on as much pressure, if not more, than Real Real has conceded all season, because I genuinely haven't seen them fall back this much this season. Even with the bad results they came here with, I haven't seen them fall back this much this season. But sadly, despite the chances, despite everything, a goal didn't come our way. Despite, I'm pretty sure it was Tchouaméni completely bodying Strefecha in the middle of the box, which, let's be honest, if that goal was the other way around, it would have been given as an immediate pen. But again, I can't really say that I'm shocked that we didn't get a debatable pen against a Spanish team, especially Real Madrid. And then the game ends in what was one of the most magical performances, especially second half. And with us, as I said, feeling just pride, if anything, for the team and for Mendilibar willing to live or die by his sword and doing the best that they all could to get a result against Real Madrid, if anything, our way and not by sitting back. Which again, the fact that Real Madrid themselves sat back to see out that result after we scored the third is something telling in and of itself, honestly. Now, a lot of performance talk, because a lot of things have been said, and a lot of, honestly, up to a point, a lot of outrageous things have been said. And first of all, to begin with, Kostas Giolagis. I read yesterday, as I honestly expected, that for Kylian's initial hat-trick, that it's all up to Giolagis. And I posed a question which, coincidentally, no one gave me an answer to. Even though I know people who said that it was Kostas Giolagis did see the tweet that I put up. When in every goal conceded, you are one-on-one against some of the best attackers in the world. And when you have already pulled off some great saves this game, how is it solely the goalkeeper's fault? We have talked about this point more last season than this one, but it's worth bringing up again because it seems like people have just completely forgotten again the urge that most Greek fans have. And yes, I'm putting us maybe towards the top of that category as well. To have a scapegoat in this game and in any game, to put all the blame to, especially if it's a Greek, and especially when it's undeserved, is unbelievable sometimes. Like, yeah, okay, Giolagis conceded 4. When a goalkeeper concedes 4, you can't say that he had a good game. He didn't have a good game. But to place the fault for the goals on Giolagis himself, when Rodinei had one of the worst performances that we've seen on him, when Rechos had one of the most mistake-filled performances we've seen of him, when Lorenzo Pirola ultimately came down injured, and when Francisco Ortega was lost for a solid 30, when your back line is underwhelming at best, yes, you conceded 4 and you take some of the blame as a keeper, but there doesn't have to be a scapegoat always, and especially not Zoulakis yesterday. And Retsos as well. Retsos took so much shit. Like, yeah, okay, Retsos had a bad-ish game. But why are we not putting the blame for the goals on all of the people that deserve to eat the blame? Why are we targeting one guy, and why are we especially targeting our boys? Like, I've seen minimal general criticism on Rodinei. I've seen minimal general criticism on Ortega. Can't, honestly, I can't place it in my mind, and I know I'm a broken record with this round, and I know that people are probably tired of hearing this shit. And trust me, I'm tired of saying it. But the fact that we have made it ultimately impossible to properly not I'm not even saying avoid criticism, to properly sit down and criticize whether on the good side or the bad side players, and that we have to take it into two extremes every single time is unbelievable to me. And again, I am putting myself in here first of all. Like, let's not get things wrong here. I am in that category as well, and I am trying to fix it as well. But for a club to go forward, it doesn't solely need the support of the fans. It needs the fans to be logical and be behind the team in the best way for the team, both in the good and the bad times. There can't just be two extremes and never an in between. Same for players in general as well. Like, for example, I talked about Zoulakis. The opinions on Zoulakis, and again, screw everyone that supports a different team. We know how they target players. We know what their ultimate goal is. We know what their purpose is. Screw them. The things that Olympiacos fans, quote unquote, have said about Zoulakis, I've literally seen the same people call Zoulakis overrated and call for him to be benched even yesterday. And then a couple of weeks ago, they called him an incredible keeper and that they're behind him. And then a couple of weeks ago, again, call for him to be benched. It's enough to send you mental, in my opinion. But I'll finish with that rant because before, honestly, it takes up all of the episode. Now, talked about Rodinei. A debate has been put up in regards to this man, and I want to open this dialogue as well. Even if you're listening after, I am probably gonna put up a post about it as well. The question, more or less, is that does Rodinei need to completely be taken out of the right back position, and does Rodinei need to solely be used as a backup winger / right midfielder when needed? My opinion on that is yes. I think that Rodinei's move last year, the necessary move that had to happen for him to more or less be playing up top as a winger, I think that should have stayed as a permanent thing. Because again, when you have a winger that doesn't track back to help you, it's not easy, of course. But he's shown multiple times. We've had an offside problem with Rodinei. He keeps holding people on side. He keeps covering people. He keeps being the reason, quote unquote, because of course it's not only him, but I think you'll get where I'm taking this argument of through balls and long balls being allowed to go through. yesterday, let's not joke ourselves, he got grilled by Vinny Jr. And again, Vinny Jr., I know, but it's a general point. It's not only about yesterday. I do think that Rodinei needs to permanently be moved up and Costinha be our undisputed starter. And honestly, at this rate, bring someone up from the academy. We have a lot of good right backs, both in the B team and the academy. Bring someone up to back up Costinha. And just put Rodinei as a depth piece on the wings. I think that's the safest option in this case, in my opinion. Of course, talked about the rest of the back four. Nothing too insane to say. Just wishing a speedy recovery on Lorenzo Pirola, who I really hope that Pirola isn't seriously injured, because that's another man that's proved himself to be irreplaceable at this rate. That even yesterday was the shining light in a defense that was really not amazing. The defense was not amazing. And again, Pirola is either going to be an Olympiacos legend or a very expensive transfer. I'm praying it's the first one, but we all know the eyes that are on him. We all know the interest there is. So for as long as we got him, he's irreplaceable in that back four. He's been proving that since last year. This year, he's established it, and I don't think anyone has anything else to say in regards to that. Now, the duo of Dani Garcia and Christos Mouzagitis. I'll start with Mouza. I'll start with the positives. Showing up and showing out against one of the toughest, best, most talented midfields in the world is no easy feat. Proving yourself day in and day out, whether you play 10, 20, 30, 40, or 90 minutes in a game, is no easy feat. Having the spotlight of an entire football continent on you and still performing better than ever is no easy feat. Musa is not just our golden boy. Musa is someone that we should be building the team around. We've said it many times. There has been a lot of rumored, there has been a lot of rumored interest. There has been a lot of talk in regards to what will happen even in January with Christos Mouzagitis. But the ultimate point is this. Whenever Musa plays, no matter how long, he controls the midfield. And especially when Chiquinho got subbed off injured, of course, a lot of pressure fell on Mouzagitis midfield-wise, but he showed up. He had the utter top of the absolute top of praise from Xabi Alonso. He's had eyes from everywhere looking at him. And as I said on the socials last night, as I said earlier on, a few minutes ago, and as I've said many times, he's not just our golden boy. He's one of the best in the squad. He's one of the most talented in Europe. And God will his career be legendary. God will his career be legendary. Now, onto the other side of that midfield, for a start at least, up until halftime, more or less. Dani Garcia. I don't know what it is with Dani. First of all, before I mix up my words and before anything sounds perhaps anything is taken the wrong way, I don't think Dani had a bad game. Just like I don't think Dani is a bad player. Dani Garcia is a football legend, and Dani Garcia is here to do what he does best. But both Gav, both me, and a lot of others have talked about Dani not needing to start, it not being really beneficial for the team necessarily for Dani starting. And it's a mix of opinions yesterday. I get why he started, but in hindsight, I would have loved to see Ese and Musa start together. He's a much better duo with Musakitis than he is with Santi Ese because they complement each other's games instead of contradicting them. But I think Dani would be much more helpful as a player than he already is now if he was a game closer. Like, for example, I am going to use yesterday as an example, but I'm not necessarily focusing on that. If Musakitis and Ese start a game and Dani comes in at like the 70th, I think for games like yesterday, that's an ideal scenario, even though I get where Mendy was coming from. For games, for example, in the Super League, whether you want to take a derby or a lower league game, there's Scipioni, there is, of course, Nasi, there is Ese, Musakitis. We need to be seeing mixes of duos that work well together, that complement each other's games. And within those mixes, if the certainty is that no matter what's happening, Dani Garcia will come in to close out the game, I think again that's much more beneficial to the team. Again, I'm not calling Dani a bad player. I know there has been a lot of hate towards him, but that's not my point. I know what Dani brings, and Dani brings a lot to this team. And I want to hear your opinion in the comments. I want all of you to say if you agree or disagree. And I am probably going to put that as a clip after up on socials. Should Dani Garcia, again, not that it will happen, I'm asking purely opinion, should Dani Garcia be one of our main game closers? And should we be seeing more of those like Ese Musakitis, Scipioni Musakitis? Even Scipioni Ese, which I don't think would work out that great, but examples. And in addition to that, since I mentioned it, who would be your preferable midfield duo, both for Europe and the Super League? And are those different? Like, what's the criteria, in your opinion? Again, I'd love to see Ese Musakitis more, because that duo in the second half worked so perfectly. It worked so perfectly. And I know that Ese had a half of a lifetime he came in and assisted immediately. But I'd love to see more of that duo in general. And again, I am not saying that Danny is bad nor useless. I just believe that he'd be better off the bench. Sadly, and honestly, I didn't really think about it like that at the start. Winger-wise, we weren't amazing. Both Zelson and Danny Podence weren't incredible. They had more of a down game. Maybe the confidence wasn't there that much. Chiquinho, on the other hand, had perhaps a career game cut short. 28 minutes of brilliance with, again, what should be goal of the week. But knowing Chiquinho and knowing what he's shown and given, I know that he'll come back even better and with even more fire in his heart to perform and give the best for this team to take the best. And now Ayoub El Kabi. A goal and an assist for Ayoub El Kabi. And a man that made it look effortless to completely just show up against the Real Madrid defenders. And again, argument, those weren't defenders. Counter argument, it's Real Madrid. The fact that this man had one of his best games of the season against Real Madrid is another case, another example in him solidifying status that is more than legendary for this club. Ayoub El Kabi's name is not just written in golden letters in our history book, but it's underlined and written in bold again. Speaking about blessings for the team, his renewal needs to happen. The team needs to do everything they can to keep Ayoub El Kabi in this team. Because I don't care if he's 33, and I don't care if he started the season slowly. We're talking about a freak athlete that is going to be at the top of his game for at least 2 more years. And while I know that it ultimately is up to the player if he wants to stay or not, you can't not give everything at your disposal to convince him to stay to the team. And then, yeah, okay, it's up to him. But the team needs to do all it can and more to keep this player. Not just in January, because there has been some talk, but at least for next season. At minimum for next season, and then to see how it goes. Even though I'm sure that they'll present him with a 2-year out-and-out contract. And our backup striker, who hopefully isn't seriously injured himself, Mehdi Taremi, claiming his 9th goal of the season, if I'm not mistaken, scoring around every 50-ish minutes. I'm pretty sure it's the same stat. Maybe it's even a bit lower with a goal yesterday. A game of 2 halves for Mehdi Taremi, coming in at the 28th and until the 45th, not really doing much, being a bit slow, being a bit, not mediocre, but a bit non-reactionary, if that makes sense. And then we open the second and he scores the header almost immediately and has an incredible second half. there's no doubt that Mehdi can do it at the highest level still. And there's no doubt that his quality even being used as a backup is a luxury. But he needs to stay consistent. And God does he need to stay healthy, because God, that injury is a problem for him, even if they're minor, right? I talked about him a few minutes ago, and I talked about how he gave it his all for 45, and that's Santiese, of course. An absolute soldier, game in, game out, assisted, and along with Christos Mouzakitis, controlled the midfield for the second half. And again, even at the end, forced Madrid to fall back fully as we completely battered them with chances, who we sadly didn't score. I made a comment about Julian Bianconi yesterday when he came on, because I saw worry. And Julian is unpredictable in the best way possible. Because okay, he's a backup. He's a very worthy backup. And again, I will die on this hill that Julian Biancon is arguably the best case scenario for a third choice centre back for a club, not just at our level, for any club in a competition in Europe in general. Yesterday, he knew the battle that he had, and for me, he handled it amazingly. Just 30 minutes of out-and-out brilliance at the back, covering our best defender yesterday by far. And of course, no one expects him to do everything that Pirola does, but in his own way and with his own insane positives, he was great. He was great. There no complaints towards Julian. Same for Costinha. The only complaint that I had about Costinha is that he didn't start. And again, no hate on Rodi. I love him. But it's the argument that I brought up earlier. Perhaps Costinha should be seeing games like this, despite the lack of experience. I think Costinha is now our undeniable starter, right? And he didn't have time to do much yesterday, more of a quiet game. And I'd say the same for the man next, that will get into him for a completely different talk. But Costinha has the talent and he has a work ethic to be our undeniable starter now. And I think that's of no discussion. And the final man of the game, the man that got subbed on with Costinha for an injured Anipodens, the man that assisted, the man that almost scored, and the man that should have won a penalty, in arguably his best 20-ish minutes, wearing an Olympiacos shirt, Gabriel Strefecha. In all the respect possible, he was our best winger yesterday. Like, as an out-and-out winger talk, he was our best winger yesterday. Effective, which was his main issue. Non-wasteful, which again, one of the main issues. And with all the sense of the word, he showed up and he proved why he cost 8 million. Strefecha yesterday proved why he cost 8 million. And if we continue seeing this Gabriel Strefecha, he could easily just steal that starter role. Even though he's a perfect impact sub. He's a perfect impact sub, especially when he's playing like that. Got an assist to his name as well. he may steal that starter role for some games if he keeps improving like he has been the last few games. And again, there is very few people who believed in him. And I'm one of them, and I'm taking pride in that. Good evening, even though I am slowly closing up. We're proud of these lads who represent Olympiacos. It's how I opened the show. Proud is an understatement. Like, again, you can talk about those 15-20 minutes of absolute just a strike from God with that streak of mistakes and the injury of Chiquinho. But ultimately, the way that they showed up in that second half erases every complaint possible. And I will slowly begin to close up the way I opened. We should be proud solely for one thing and then build on everything from that. Mendilibar's Olympiacos will live or die by the Olympiacos spirit. We looked at Arsenal. We looked at Barcelona. We looked at Real Madrid. We're going to look at Leverkusen. We looked at Eindhoven, Ajax. And whoever has or will be in the way of Olympiacos, and we've dogged out for a result. We've swung till the final second of the game for a result, whether it's the highest of highs team-wise or the lowest of lows. And that alone, that Mendilibar, from the start to the end, has instilled the Olympiacos DNA on everyone, whether we're playing Real Madrid or La Mia. It's incredible. And for that alone, we should be proud. And then everything that's added on to that. Next game is Kairat. Kairat away at Astana's stadium, if I'm not mistaken. In all seriousness, can we go to Kairat and score 6? Like, get some momentum, get a streak of luck in this goddamn run. Because God knows we haven't had any. And again, underwhelming performances, a bit in general, especially against Paphos, but God, we've been unlucky. I'll close off the way I usually do. Of course, I did talk about MVP talk. A lot of boys deserve it yesterday, and honestly, I haven't thought about it, so I'll do it on the fly. Honestly, despite it being close for a few people, I will give it to Ayub El Kabi. Even though Chiquinho, despite playing 28 minutes, Chiquinho is in the convo. Taremi is in the convo. Musa is in the convo. I will give it to Ayub El Kabi. And of course, even if you're listening after, go down to the comments and drop your general thoughts, questions, and everything. But my main thing is this. Stay behind this team. Stay behind this team no matter what, because they can do great things. And never stop believing in this place. Nothing's over yet. For no goal. Hope you all enjoy your night. Enjoy football. Whether you're listening to this today or whenever. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you soon. Thank you.